Hello and welcome to the AEW Dynamite preview. I'm Michael Sidgwick, joined by Michael Hamflett to discuss everything that's in store for us on tonight's show. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube for daily wrestling podcasts where we preview and review Dynamite, Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. Pay-per-views, premium live events. We have wrestler interviews on occasion, roundtable discussions, question and answer time. And not this week, but most weeks we host a round of the week, complete, of course, with a bloody good quiz on wrestle culture. Now, Hamflett, there's like my blood ran a little bit cold this morning. There's a chill in the air.
I mean, there's not. It's unseasonably warm still.
It's unseasonably warm still, but there's a more of a metaphysical chill in the air. My blood's running cold. Are you ready for Fright Night Dynamite? Let us know your expectations. This show emanates from the Foreskin Center. It's actually the Wolstein Center. It was just really hard to get anything out of it.
That was very good.
Cleveland, Ohio. And I'll bring this up. It's a little bit that we do. But per WrestleTix, at WrestleTix on X, an excellent resource. One of the few X pages worth following nowadays. This doesn't seem like much, but relative to other things, 3,220 tickets out.
All right.
I think, is that an indication or reflection rather of who we expect to debut, and we'll get into that later, or they've done a good job of promoting recently, or they've done a job of promoting recently. Here's what's going to be on the TV in 2 weeks. Here's what's going to be on the TV a week from now, a fortnight from now. The next collisions are, we're telling you what's going on. Is this a trend, a good one? Or is it a case of AEW, we know what's going to happen tonight, or we've got a very good idea? They usually do a good job of these thematic someone's coming shows.
Yeah. I like what they've been doing lately with the promotion. It sounds, you always worry about drifting into boring podcaster talk when you say things like, they need to promote your stars, you need to like let the people know.
Well, you do.
But you do. It is one of them. It's one of them basics that I think they neglected the bigger the roster got. I think it was easier to do that glorious everybody on the roster shot in those early episodes of Dynamite, the early pay-per-views, that sort of thing. But the roster got bigger, and you did.
The fans got smaller.
But you did want knowledge.
Narrative ecosystem, baby.
You wanted knowledge of who from that show you were going to get. Even when you had Dynamite and Rampage, you could forgive that because it was like, right, if you're not going to get them on Dynamite, they'll probably appear on the tape Rampage. There's an assurance that you'll see them even if they're not advertised. That just completely went away. That totally went away with AEW, and it spiraled. I think you would get those posters where you would see...
Eroded trust as well.
Totally, yeah.
Do they know what they're doing?
Yeah, like, you never mind advertising them for a match, just not getting to see them. I joke about entrances and stuff, but it's the idea of just seeing the talent. I always think about our experience with Dynamite and Double or Nothing, and I forget there was a segment. I was in the please stay in the building because we're going to tape Ring of Honor in a bit, and they were talking about like some secret matches, and like you at this point I think were kind of... surprisingly, guys, a bit more cynical to the process, and I was wide-eyed and excited, thinking, "Yeah, but maybe it's still good, Sid. It's still good." I was like, "Maybe Kenny's going to be in one of these." He's like, "Hamflett, Kenny's not here till Sunday. Kenny's not coming.
Kenny's not coming."
I was like, "Well, he might.
Kenny's not coming." And I've got some work to do.
He's in town. He might be here, and then he wasn't. And I think that like people that go to these shows regularly, the hardest of the hardcores at this point, even they were getting chipped away at because that had been lost. Yeah. So it's a long way around saying it's not just about cards, it's about the idea of the show you're going to see. You can't manifest a smaller roster because the roster's so massive, but if you illustrate this set cast that you're going to get, as we've got tonight, like, it does stand to reason it would work. Yeah. Like the old methods still do.
Absolutely. Speaking of coming, and Kenny is coming, and maybe so am I, to Power Struggle on the 4th of November, New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's making an appearance live. You know about this?
I did not know about this.
You seen this? You heard about this?
Struggle right now.
He's all but said that he wants to team with Tanahashi. He wants to get revenge on the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks themselves appeared at one of the previous major, well, not major anymore, I'm sorry. It breaks my heart, but one of the less small New Japan shows.
Yeah.
All but saying we're coming to Wrestle Dynasty January 5th, Tokyo Dome. It looks like that's happening. It's is it weird that Kenny's basically coming back to New Japan before AEW? Or is it just a case of He's probably in Japan because it's his home away from home. I think it is his home. He just, if anything, AEW, and I think it's, I mean, I've not Google Maps it or anything like that, but I think he's Florida-based.
Okay.
But maybe it's just a case of, right, I'm recovering, I'm doing some training, I want to go to my home where I can do that, and it just all slotted nicely together to do the comeback there. And it is a co-promoted show, I guess, the January 5th one.
Yeah, they're kind of getting away with it. Well, I don't know. I think you understand the mind of Kenny Omega more than I do. What do you think on that one? Like, answer your own question there. Cause
I think I just did.
You think it's...
I think it's just like he likes being in Japan. It was his home for many years.
It's not a Nuge versus AEW thing specifically. It's not.
Oh, no. I just think because the January 5th show it's going to have a lot of AEW influence. I think Tanahashi and Omega versus the Bucks seems destined for it. It's been teased that MJF versus Gabe Kidd is going to happen, and that seems like a likely venue for that.
I tell you what, I don't know if...
Maybe he's just doing a lot of his recovery and convalescence in Japan, and it's just these two things have married. He's better able to do promotion for New Japan, because he's done a lot of like press interviews. He's done some... he had this sit-down interview with Tanner. He did this little sort of digest thing where he's 3 favourite matches very quickly.
Okay.
Very quickly.
It's time to play the game! Time to play the game! Ha 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 ha!
What are Kenny Omega's 3 top New Japan Kenny Omega matches as chosen by Kenny Omega?
Omega Okada 4.
Correct.
Which puts me off going for one of the other ones. He's kind of crazy gay. So I'll go with Omega Okada 1.
Nope.
Right, so I'm going to leave that over there. Tomohiro Ishii.
No, but that's probably it's in my top 5.
Naito.
Which I'm obviously certainly going to do after this.
Naito G1 2016.
No.
Kenny Omega, Golden Lovers versus Ospreay and Okada.
You're half right in that it's a Golden Lovers match.
From New Japan. Golden Lovers Bucks?
Nope.
What am I forgetting?
It's not that era. It's before he becomes that single star.
The Nutso one they have that I can never remember who it's against. But that was in DDT, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's against Apollo 55.
Thank you.
It's when Kenny's just making those furtive steps as like a freelancer before he becomes like a New Japan guy proper. And I think it predates Bullet Club, even though it does, because obviously Devitt was, not even in Bullet Club yet. Last one out of the 3.
Whoa. Singles. Tanahashi?
Nope.
Good, because I like what they were doing more than I like the execution of it.
Oh, it's great. You're an idiot.
No, it was amazing. It was amazing, but I just didn't think it was on the high end of Kenny Omega's incredibly, incredibly high end of matches.
Best the unprecedented end, if anything.
If anything.
Huh?
Listen. I'm blanking now. Go on, give us that third one.
Toru Yano.
Oh, yeah.
That G1 where they taped each other's legs together and they were hopping around. Yeah, it was fantastic banter.
Business.
I'm going to do mine now.
Go on, then.
Right. Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada 4, number 1 with a bullet. It's my favorite match of all time. I think it's the best match of all time. The unbelievable feat of going that long and you just never, ever, ever once getting bored. To do that level of execution for 65 minutes, lung bursting, white knuckle is incredible. The storytelling was completely and utterly blew away great. The absolute, just Kenny Omega and his ability to just throw a twist in there. Right, everything's changed now. He comes out, oh my God, his physique.
Oh my God.
He looks ridiculous. It's like the leanest musculature, and it's people wanted sports-oriented stories in wrestling. That's what the Bad Faith Grifters said. Oh, he's just told the best one ever. So why don't you like him, you morons? He comes in the absolute best shape of his life. He treats it like the most serious match of his life. In fact, during the entrance alone, that's when the story starts before the bell rings. That's what they all say. He looks so unbelievably cut, lean, shredded. The idea being he's been in the most intense camp training preparation for his entire goddamn life/career because he knows this is the hardest match he's ever had to wrestle. And he comes out and he says, I need the stamina to beat him. I couldn't do it in an hour, but he couldn't beat me in an hour either. If I can take him over that hour limit, I know I've got him because I've got the engine, the stamina, the cardio. Then he gets absolutely annihilated over a guardrail, and it's like, all right, he gets that midsection injury. It's like, oh, well, your stamina's gone. Oh, God, it's not happening. It's not happening. That bulldog pin from Okada for the first fall, I was like, oh, God, that's heartbreaking. And then if you go back and watch it, which I've done several times, we'll get to Dynamite imminently. The last 10 minutes I wrestled in slow motion. If you watched that 10 minutes in isolation without context and showed it to a non-wrestling fan, they might even laugh. They might even laugh because they are like, it's slow motion wrestling for the last 10 minutes. But the idea is because the preceding 50 was so exhilarating, rapid, like the head drops, the counters, it's just a blitz of, like, it's a cloudburst of just incredible action. So they have to sell it at some point. They take the decision to, we'll just we'll backload all of that selling, really. In the last 10 minutes, they go in slow motion, and these fans are like, come on, Kenny. You know, look at the shape you're in. You can do it. You can do it. It's just a masterpiece. Second, you could make an argument that all of the Okada matches go 1, 2, 3, 4 to make it a bit more interesting. I will say that the first one goes second because, again, I've made this comparison before, right? Even very good and very loud wrestling matches, I still get that bristling sense of, you're just kind of performing. Like the AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes being a recent example. And there's a million AEW matches like this. I'm not being a tribalist. It's like they're there for the show. They're not really emotionally engaged. It's super loud, overwhelming. Like it grabs you, but it's a bit performative. When you watch that 10-minute sequence at the finish of Omega Okada 1, like you can hear everyone in the audience make a different noise because they're in this deeply personal state of having their inhibitions just like completely drilled out of them. It's not like, this is awesome. It's like everyone's going, it just feels like this is emotionally resonant individual collection. And it feels like it's being like overdubbed on top of itself. I just love. Wrestling doesn't feel like that anymore. The Ishii match, like the V triggers in that are like he's imploded his face. Yeah. And then there's one where it's like, Jesus Christ, that's a concussion. The second the shun leaves your mouth from, that's a concussion, Ishii just fires back and kills him. It's the ultimate rhythm of an Ishii match.
Can I have a guess at one more of yours?
Yes.
Goto.
It's an incredible achievement considering that Goto was very much entrenched as that mid-carder, never going to win the title. He's going to go 50-50, and that's fine. Every promotion needs a 50-50 guy. You just can't do it all the time. The Bleacher stuff's great, but not a top 5 for me. The Naito one where he just DDTs him on a ring post. I mean, he can't do that.
You have love stories with wrestlers, don't you? You have like when you're really, really like falling hard for a pro wrestler, if they're new to you or you've never got them and then suddenly black and white in a colour or whatever it is. Like, I've said this before. It's a mark against me because I should have listened to Power Slam and others like it when Tanahashi was on the rise and I didn't. Yeah. So I was late to New Japan's boom, realistically. The 2016 G1. I couldn't stop hearing, reading, catching glimpses of Kenny Omega to the point where he was a mythical figure. Yeah. And I didn't go in arms folded, but I went in like, right, fine, I suppose I'll pause Raw. Yeah. Like,
in 2016.
I imagine, the brand split.
You did like it.
Yeah, I did. Who needs any extra wrestling? I've got 2 different Raw and SmackDown. And then Kenny in the G1 in that, I was like, I'm... just call me Puro Hamflett, actually. That was it. I was like, and he did that thing that people talk about, that casual fan experience. You know, when they say, like, thing you need is you need the Rock. Then you get the Rock, and then they watch the Rock, and they learn about the bloodline. They learn about the bloodline, they learn about everything else, and you've expanded their world.
It was Kenny, yeah?
Kenny Omega wrestled like 10 people or whatever.
The crossover star.
Well, now I love him. I certainly want to know more about him. This guy lived up to the expectations. Naito was the biggest one, because it was like another guy that you hear of. And then, again, if anything, I kind of came in too hot on Naito because at this point the character was fully formed and he's having total rippers. Yeah. And it was like, turns out it was kind of as good as it was ever going to get with Naito. But Kenny was the one. He was absolutely my gateway to everything that New Japan could offer.
I know. I know I've already skipped past it and talked about it, but, Kenny Omega played Tomohiro Ishii's head like Mr. Burns. Like Homer Simpson doing it to Mr. Burns. I mean, that's absolutely incredible pattern. Iconic. And he effed around and found out and got his ass kicked. In that match, there's one of the least I hate the flying nothing. I hated Alberto Del Rio's, right? I need to do my stomp. That means you have to literally help me do it by putting your hands on each rope and then suspend yourself in the air so then I can do a stomp. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
Pathetic. Kenny Omega does a stomp on Ishii, right, in this match. And it's like, oh, this is why you're the best. This is why you're the best of all time. We will get to Dynamite very shortly. When I get Kenny in the brain, I just need to talk about it. He V-triggers Ishii. And Ishii, I don't want to discount his contributions to this match because he might have came up with this, I don't know. Omega, through Meltzer, is very insistent that he does 95% of all of the layouts. So we'll just go with that, won't we? Ishii gets V-triggered in the mush and then just flails backwards, back first over the second, between the second and middle ropes, I think it is. And his legs are in the ring, but his entire torso and head is discombobulated. Then Kenny just goes over the top ropes and just stamps him.
Yeah.
I miss him.
I miss him too. Oh my God, they talked Kenny, you bastards, is what nobody's going to say because I think everybody misses him. Everybody wants to think about how Kenny Omega fits back in to this AEW world. This is not the first time, unfortunately, that AEW's been in a position where Kenny Omega feels like he might be the guy to save the day. Yeah. Both narratively now and just as a shoot as well. It's him coming back would be a presence.
To do big things.
You know what just hit me before?
I'll do my fifth after this.
Oh,
then we'll get to Dynamite.
Depending on where this other character is at in his own little story right now, with them having the Bucks match on January 5th,
yes.
They could absolutely...
Well, that's teased. It's not advertised. It's been teased.
Imagine Kenny and Hanger versus the Bucks at Revolution 2025.
Oh, my
5
God.
years
oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my
I'd watch the first one as study material. I mean, a lot of it's burned into my brain, but I would genuinely have that as study material. 5, there's too many, incredible big... you could go Ospreay, Wrestle Kingdom. I love the Tanahashi match. It's just Tana hitting the Poison Rana.
Yeah.
Was the ultimate. I reckon it's that for me.
Yeah.
Tana hitting that Poison Rana cements it as. Right, I've been burying. The meta build was really cool. I've been burying this guy Omega in the press for his just ridiculously short-lived, impure pro wrestling. This over violent fireworks, shallow stuff. And then he's like, oh, God, no, he hits really hard and his moves are so cool. I'm going to have to do one of them just to get back into it. So those are my 5. Swerve Strickland versus Shelton Benjamin. And you know what that means. What are your hopes for this match? Because I'm a little bit split. I've been very impressed by Shelton Benjamin, but it's because he's got that big old WWE body that you never really knows big until you get out of WWE, right? And I know he's bulked up, certainly more than he was in New Japan, I think. So he's basically been a monster in there against Lio Rush and Sammy Guevara, who are either short and or thin. Against Swerve, who's got an impressive physique of his own, I'm sure the asking you now, having established Shelton as sort of someone who can win on his own terms, he's not here to eat pins for who might be coming. This is going to have to go a bit back and forth. You've got someone who they're trying to depict as a killer, as a game changer, as someone who's here to win championships, as they've said.
Yeah.
The Hurt Syndicate, or the embryonic Hurt Syndicate have said. Can Shelton Benjamin work a really good Dynamite tier back and forth shootout is what I'm asking.
Yes. However, this is oddly, I'm way more excited about the story and the ramifications than I am the potential quality of this match. I didn't have really any doubts over Lio Rush. It was just really strong matchmaking ultimately. Had a feeling that the Sammy Guevara match, Sammy Guevara has this role now that he did with Ricochet as well, where it's he will do pretty much out for you and he'll get himself over in the process, and it was all to build to a spot. This, oddly, right, considering that this is kind of such a key point in the story, and this match exists because the other 2 Shelton matches existed for the benefit of this one. This has the biggest mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Because when Shelton Benjamin started to bore people was when he was a singles heel, kind of directionless in WWE especially. A lot of what made Shelton pop off early doors was how explosive he was as a babyface and how much he had that that spring-loaded amateur wrestling thing that
he was a different athlete for the time,
has, and it's just
especially when he had to endure Triple H during that era.
And this is it, right? So he had that real like babyface fire. Like he was really good at playing an underdog, but an underdog that heels were going to underestimate. And that was how he worked as a babyface. Never really put that together as a heel in WWE ever. And then obviously as the years passed, it was more about like being a legacy wrestler or being a tag guy. So this is sort of like, I'll be Lenny, sort of leaning in. I've loved everything that Swerve has done this year pretty much.
Yeah.
I think he is like... We always sort of cringe when we use this phrase ourselves, but in every single respect, he has understood the multiple assignments given him in 2024.
Oh, he's been great.
Wrestler of the year for me, for more than just like the big matches of which he has them.
Yeah.
And this, for me, is kind of one of those ones that's going to prove that if it's class, it's proven that. It's not to knock Shelton, but it's to prove that like Swerve can find a way. I think he might have to shrink himself a little bit here to make Shelton stuff as a heel feel more dominating and devastating, and then like Swerve is low-key good considering his character at like encouraging a sort of traditional babyface comeback.
Yes.
His fiery comeback considering the character.
He's got that face, and
yeah, he's like, it's a skill that I don't think you would notice to look at him because you think, he'd just be this cocksure heel that he'll conquer all. No, he finds the hard camera and he does it. He doesn't do it like John Cena and like scream for the back row, but he's got that wave connecting. Yeah. And I think that's the trick to making this good. Shelton's got to look and feel quite physically dominant for Swerve to overcome.
Yeah.
I don't have any worries about the match, but those would be my sort of concerns about just how good it can be.
Yeah, I've got no worries about how they're each going to approach it and the story that they're going to tell. It's just whether or not it's going to be a bit flat and drab. I will say Swerve is a pro.
Yeah.
Like he himself has said, for the first 2 years of his AEW life, it's like, yep, I'll be in a tag team. Yep, I'll be in the final two in a battle royal. I'll do this, I'll do that, because I know if I get all of these opportunities to prove myself, I will become undeniable. I don't know if that was like a bit of shade or a bit of subtext at other former WWE wrestlers.
A little bit.
Who come in and just say, I want this, I want that. He's like, no. You can threaten to normalize me if you like. I'm not normal. Yeah. I'm special. I will prove you right. I love Swerve. Love that attitude. I think it's been absolutely phenomenal. He's a pro and...
Not enough of him in the business.
Yeah, exactly. I just love that sort of...
Doesn't seem like he's cutting people's heads off to do it either.
No, well, he's the opposite. He's done business for like... He got beat off Derby, got beat off Orange a lot.
Yeah.
In that first 18 months to 2 years. So the idea of you can't normalise me. Try it. I'll do jobs. I'll be almost 50-50. I'll do kind of whatever within reason. Try and normalise me if you can. You can't. I'm special. I'm Swerve Strickland. So he's A pro. B, one of the most demented professional wrestlers in his generation, which means that I can see a spot where he'll say, dump me on my head for this. Give me one of those suplexes. Dump me on my head. Give me one of them on my rippling back, and I'll do the old Bret Hart 1, 2, 3 kind of, I wasn't kind of expecting you to be this good. And then give me one on my head. Create that sort of tenor of danger, and then we'll start going back and forth. Is Swerve going to lose here? Because here's what's happening. Bobby Lashley is pretty much going to debut tonight. It's a special themed Dynamite. He's under contract according to Sean Ross Sapp, and he's just he's ultra reputable. He's not going to say that if it's not true. This feels like it's all built for Lashley to win. There's two options here. Lashley to debut. Two options here. Swerve wins, and then MVP comes in with the cane. Shelton Benjamin continues the assault. Just when Swerve looks like he's fighting back, lights go out, come back on, there's Bobby Lashley. Or Swerve could have the match won. You need to protect him, and the will. It's bloody wrestling.
Yeah.
Oh my God, who the hell is that? It's Bobby Lashley. MVP distracts the ref. Lashley just kills Swerve. Can't wait to see what he looks like in an AEW ring.
I know.
It's going to be an absolute colossus. And then Benjamin gets the win. That way, you've positioned Shelton. They're going really hard on Shelton, with the idea being Lashley can then beat Swerve at Full Gear, and then it means something. Because of how strongly they've promoted Shelton Benjamin, it'll mean something when Swerve can get the win back against Shelton on TV after Full Gear. There's a lot of routes that can go. I
would really, really like the avenue in which Shelton beats Swerve. You can do the interference, or you can do the shock after the fact. It's not 50-50, and it's not bold to have Swerve win and then have lights off, lights on. But when Shelton arrived and everybody just straight away went, right, pin eater,
Yes.
pin eater, that you kind of need to get away from that being the feeling, being the inevitable. Like, nobody really said that about Jake Hager when the Inner Circle debuted and surprised you with him.
Yeah.
People took him seriously.
Yeah.
And I just think it would be nice.
It worked wonders, really, for a little while anyway.
Trust your fan base. Trust Swerve Strickland's ability to manage this defeat.
And if it's Lashley making the difference, it's like...
Is that not what MVP's been trying to illustrate? Like, is that not what all of this is, like, sort of underpinned by? The Hurt Syndicate are dangerous people. They can win, and MVP can make... Like, we know now that Swerve is not going to question Prince Nana because they're family. They made that clear in the promo. But because of that, MVP can almost identify that as a weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and be like, it's really cool. When's the only other time that Swerve has shown a big weakness was when he revealed to Hangman Page where he lived.
Yes.
Now he's revealed to MVP that he's never going to turn on Nana.
Yeah.
Swerve will do a lot of bad things, but he won't do that. And MVP goes, right you are then. This is the exact moment I debut Bobby Lashley and we kick your ass.
Yeah, and it's Lashley. If Lashley comes in and wrecks Swerve and Swerve subsequently loses, it's like, well, of course he did. Look at the size of Lashley. Look
Really
at this aura.
put people over.
Yeah, look at this aura we're trying to create here. So I reckon if Shelton wins... I'll block out the noise as ever. It's a really cool place to be if you do that. And I will genuinely trust the process because you cannot, after the year he's had, not, irrespective of the result tonight, if you are not a goldfish or a moron, you cannot watch the year that Swerve Strickland has had and thought, they've given up faith or he shouldn't be doing those jobs.
Totally.
Come on, he's massively figured in for as long as he wants to be figured in my opinion, Swerve Strickland. He's earned it. They love him. He's over. Let's move on. AEW World Tag Team title match. The Young Bucks defending against Private Party, who must split in the event that they lose. Obviously, this is a great stipulation. Every single near fall is going to just sing because of the stipulation. I thought the match at Wrestle Dream structurally was phenomenal. Execution, not out of this world. I think when you've got Ospreay and Takeshita in your promotion, that sort of style or a slightly slower or less concussive looking version of it's just not going to hit. We've seen it, quite a few times. I hate the silly string. I wish they would abandon it. It takes way too long. And even for me, I've got so much leniency towards the pro wrestling move in general. That to me is just like I can see the wires. I hate it. Hopefully they just get that out the way early. They don't really factor that into the inevitable teasers. There's going to be a great, I would say, series of subversions with that victory roll tease.
Yeah.
Or the finish of the first match they had on the second Dynamite, rather. So what I'm saying is, it was very deep into Wrestle Dream, where people were like, I just want to get the Danielson thing, which might have worked against them. And Private Party weren't that over, and that match helped them get over. This is a very long-winded way of saying I think all of the conditions are right for this to be a minor TV classic, irrespective of the result. It's weird. It feels early when you sort of think about this alongside Moxley's mission statement. It's like, it's more successful than you ever could have thought possible. Private Party have won a lot more quickly than I was expecting, really. Do Private Party split up? Are they winning the belts?
Again, this is a bit like the last match in that I think there is a bolder call to make here in having them win than lose because they've brought in Stokely Hathaway. There's a bit of a sort of disturbing figure.
He did cheat on their behalf, and they're like, wanting to win the titles, but not like this.
And then he takes one of them.
Yeah.
And that's sort of part of the split, because the match stipulation wasn't agreed upon beforehand. They made it very clear.
Yeah, Quen was like, what are you on about, mate?
And so they're doing that, but I would quite like this to be that Fraxium red herring where they actually win the belts.
It feels early for me, still.
I think this is going to be better and hotter than Wrestle Dream, and it's going to feel right on the night for them to actually get it done.
They'll cultivate the feeling of, if you're going to split them, call an audible. That's how they'll generate that feeling.
But I think they win, and I think they have this run. And even if you do want to split them and you're determined to do that, you do it after they've had the tag title run. And maybe the whole tag title run is kind of fraught with this. We've actually done it. Let's not lose it. And then you still see like Swerve and Our Glory, that kind of that sense of like bubbling tension, but they're on top. So why would you, and Faxim at the moment, why would you break up a good thing one with the champions that you can still do? I just think it would, again, I think there's AEW at the moment is in, I understand that you can't do a lot of this because of the overall narrative direction, but they have, I think you do big heat angles when you can do big heat angles, but I think one of the biggest positive takeaways coming out of All In for us, it wasn't just Brian winning the belt and how joyous that felt. And
it felt like the magic was there a little bit with the gauntlet.
Yeah, the gauntlet was the one. There's not been enough this year of that, oh God, this makes us feel great. Yeah. Like, the fiction has just made me feel great. And I'm not a baby, and I'm not asking for baby faces to win all the time, not least when you've got heavy heat angle consuming the entire promotion. But this is almost like a free one. I'm not asking for Orange Cassidy to beat Jon Moxley.
Yeah.
But I think they can craft a match and a moment that I think AEW has needed for a while in this title change.
And as well, there's always more story. There's an infinite amount of ways to tell stories. It just feels like, well, for whatever reason, pro wrestling has decided to do the 10 that WWE did under Vince, and it's pissing me off. You got a private party, just win, feel good moment. It feels like you kind of need to do that. Just try and do a little boost.
Yeah.
Like, the long-term planning really isn't working. Maybe if we can give the titles for a little while, there's that immediate, things could change here. You could always have them lose within 2 months, and then Moxley could turn around and say, look what you did. You got it, and you lost it. Look at how long I had that title. You've just, you thought you'd achieved something. I was proud of you for a moment there, and then you failed again, and then you can fold them back into the mix. There's ways to do it. On the subject, actually, of Orange Cassidy, he is heavily advertised for this show. Orange Cassidy appears live. There are 3 weeks. Right, until Wrestle Dream. So now, surely, until Full Gear, rather. Now, surely isn't the time for Cassidy to do. He's going to do the fired up babyface promo.
Yeah.
And he's not, I don't even think he's going to do that sardonic, I'm Orange Cassidy and I don't have a catchphrase. I think to make this match work, and it can only really be on the eve of the eve of Full Gear, a proper, full-blooded, no sardonic, just an actual babyface promo. And I think it measured correctly, it could just be incredible. Now's not the week, so what does he say?
I would like if they capitalised on that lovely little sort of exchange with him and Daniel Garcia, where Orange Cassidy sort of pushed back on this idea that, like, he doesn't want to lead, but he will lead. But I would really like it if he just made it about himself. Like, you can infer from the things he's talking about himself that this also is for the soul of AEW against, like, Jon Moxley's BCC. But ultimately, Orange Cassidy has watched all of his best friends gradually get injured, turn on him both. And one of the last ones was Chuck Taylor, and Jon Moxley did that to him. So I would like Orange Cassidy to feel aggrieved with Jon Moxley on a personal level and kind of fold that into the wider story. I don't want him to... I almost still want him to be a reluctant leader.
I want the reluctance tonight still. It feels too early to blow your load.
But, like, you can still stick up for yourself, even if you're not necessarily wanting to fire up like John Silver with nunchucks.
Yeah,
it's like keep those two things as far away as you need to.
I don't think we're seeing that again. It got memed to death last week.
Orange Cassidy last year ran Jon Moxley close enough to earn his respect All Out, and like there's no harm in delving into that. There's no harm in delving into the hypocrisy of Jon Moxley. Like Orange Cassidy can,
please do.
Orange Cassidy can sort of suggest that, you know, you were here at the beginning and you hate what AEW's become. I was here at the beginning, and if my friends are getting their necks broken, I guess I hate what AEW's become as well. Maybe we're not so different, John.
Yeah.
And maybe if we're not so different, I can take that title from you. You know, about hatred and about the belt.
Yeah.
And the other stuff can be the AEW versus BCC stuff can be more implied.
Yes.
Because there's actually an hour beef between these two men.
That's the way I would absolutely... I've campaigned for that since the start, so I hope that comes to fruition. Now, on the evidence of last week, the following match has got a long uphill battle to be any good. It is the Brickhouse Camille against Kris Statlander. 2 seconds, Hamflett. I just need to check my notes very, very quickly. Just need to check my notes. Only women's match advertised so
Fright
far.
Night, you scared me there. There might be a second.
No. We can't play the game because Will Bourne, part-timer, is off on holiday still. But just for fun, 1 hour, 19:26.
Yeah. 1 hour looking at this card. I got 1 hour 10. And Manet is going to be ringside with Camille, so they'll sometimes like have it accidentally. Something will run over top of the hour and then... Yeah, into the second hour.
So it's a bit of a good news, bad news situation here. Yeah. Bad news is that Camille has barely worked in AEW. The one time she's had a really featured back and forth, kind of a disaster last week against Queen Aminata. She just didn't look like she knew what she was doing. She couldn't really get anything right execution-wise, and the more that happened, it seemed to rock her confidence, and these things just fall apart. It's like an inexorable train wreck. It wasn't one of the worst matches I've ever seen, but it was real bad. Good news, Kris Statlander, and I'm not digging out Britt Baker here, but Britt Baker runs hot and cold. Britt Baker's inconsistent in the ring. I've seen some great Britt Baker matches and some dire Britt Baker matches. I'm not saying Kris Statlander carried her because that would suggest she's always bad, but nonetheless, when you put Kris Statlander in a ring with someone who isn't amazing all of the time, it's quite often really, really good or even great. Yeah. She is, if I want Kris Statlander's that sort of reliable guarantee of a, like, I can't imagine her having a really bad match. I just can't. She's simply too good. She brings the best out of everybody she's in the ring with. And maybe it's a good idea if they're going to do anything with Camille. It's almost deceptive because Statlander is so good, in my opinion, that you're not going to get an accurate reflection of Camille. But at the same time, might as well do something with it to, if nothing else, just to reinforce that. Oh, Christ, she gave Statlander a good battle. She's must be effective as a heater. She's really good as a heater as well.
Yeah.
But in the ring, not so much. This could be good if it isn't, and it's Statlander not having the off night, and she does all she can. It's bad news for Camille, in my opinion, because he can't. There's no one really better on that roster than Statlander at giving people a good match.
She's so malleable, isn't she? She will make this a hoss battle, whereas typically she could easily get into sort of like a technical match with somebody a little bit smaller or a little bit quicker around the ring or whatever. So yeah, this should and will be, I imagine, framed as just like two monsters running into one another. Like Camille's got a bit of a size advantage, but Stat's got all of this strength and power that I think I'll make up for that.
Can't see past Statlander here.
I think I'm going with Statlander.
My gut says that.
Gut says Stat. Had Camille, genuinely, again, this is that AEW quirk, had she not wrestled last week, I think the result would be in doubt a bit more because Camille would be like having a kind of formal singles debut, and B, we wouldn't have the lowered expectations because of last week's bad match. So probably just best go in thinking like, again, there's a Swerve Shelton like element here. When somebody has to lose and that feels big, good.
Yeah.
Like what they've done here is they've given Camille the token win in order to facilitate the loss.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to do that, to be honest. Because Sidge, last week she beat Queen Aminata.
That means...
Which means that this week she could beat Kris Statlander. Only she couldn't because that's bollocks, because Statlander's the obvious contender to Mercedes Money and Camille's a heater. That's going to hamper my enjoyment of this a little bit, but it will be all about watching what Stat can do. Stat's going to Stat, right, considering that her babyface turn is a bit like, right now, really, she is really great at selling as a babyface.
Yes.
Really great.
Yeah.
So, like, she's going to, like, Camille can knock her around the ring a bit. Stat's power comeback will look really cool because Camille is massive. Something will, like, they've got a spot in them. I don't know, like, like something wacky, like one of them like delayed squatting suplexes or something. Like bring the whole crowd up gradually or something. Like, Jesus Christ. And then that's how she beats Camille. And Mercedes, they catch Mercedes like just not like purposely kind of holding back going, oh shit. Like they're rather like just being over the top and confident, just the jaw drops.
Yeah.
I'm in real trouble here. Like there's a spot that this match offers you that Stat to win.
This is not the way to approach wrestling. I am lowering my standards, and I try never to do that. But instead of like, oh God, Camille, she beat Aminata, she might beat Statlander. I'm going to watch and go, bracing myself. And if it starts getting a bit of flow and a bit of starts getting to click within a couple of minutes, I'll just be into it as like a relief almost. Not the way to do it. Absolutely not the way to watch wrestling, but that's how I'll be watching this match tomorrow morning. Adam Cole versus Buddy Matthews. Buddy Matthews, of course, part of the winningest trio. The winningest trio. The winningest trio. The winningest trio. The winningest trio in AEW history.
Part of us all.
Ready for singles action against Adam Cole. I've said it a million times. I was the first to say it, actually. So one of the first. I'm going to say it again. Tony Khan's an incredible matchmaker because he senses how his talents are going to look great against the right opponent. It's almost a subversion here in that is Adam Cole going to look anywhere near like he could beat Buddy Matthews? Not just in the fiction, but Adam Cole's not the biggest dude in the world. I couldn't care less. I think that the bigger crime is when you are a certain size, and you can be any size you want in wrestling. There's a rule for everyone. The bigger crime is if you're a certain size and you don't wrestle to that size. Yeah. I think Adam Cole's brilliant and has been for years at being that sort of crafty counter wizard. I mean, he hits his move from behind. You know what I mean? That's like a big part of it. He knows what he's doing. There are times when he can sometimes just do garden variety, hybrid shootout stuff, but he never really pisses me off, Adam Cole. I mean, he's Adam Cole. He can't. This is very different, though. I'm watching him against Buddy Matthews. The physique can only be described as hulking.
Yeah.
He's got like those balloon biceps, like that back's enormous. He's so explosive. Like when I think about Buddy Matthews, this is what makes me mourn the lack of a third major. He could be like a TV champion on a third major and just tearing it up and being like just amazing. My only problem with this match, right, and it's every single time Buddy Matthews, or seemingly every single time Buddy Matthews gets that chance in a big singles match. And this is quite big. Adam Cole's first match back after a serious injury. And the matchmaking's inspired because, he's the size difference is incredible. I think Buddy Matthews is more explosive. If it's a shoot, you're putting everything on Buddy Matthews.
Yeah.
It's how Adam Cole navigates that stylistic challenge, how he can make it seem like he has to wrestle a very sly, intelligent match here.
He's got to outwit him.
He's got to outwit him. He cannot go fire with fire. And surely he won't, and that's why this match exists. But we'll see. What I will say, sorry, before I get your thoughts, I know I've droned on a lot, is the only thing tempering this is a good kind of fear of, he's gonna die for sure.
Yeah.
To quote the great Karrion Kross, no irony, by the way, he's awesome now. He's dead for sure.
Probably
look at Buddy Matthews. Is Buddy Matthews, if it's possible, I would describe him as too good at selling. There's been so many matches. I'm talking like at least 3 where you think, has this gone off? Has this gone awry?
Yeah.
Has he suffered a shoot injury? All the dramatic momentum's gone. It's so realistic as selling that you think, right, well, this match is just well done for gutting it through. It wasn't really much of a wrestling match the way my brain processes it by the end, but fair play for him to gut it out. No, he's just really too good at selling for his own good. It's an incredible skill. If he can just dial it back a little bit, he could be amazing. I just think he gets a little bit too eager to impress with how good he is at times.
Yeah, there's always something about Buddy Matthews, and it's not really on him, but it feels like it's holding him back a bit from that, like, as you say, maybe like the third brand. It's like, you can be a main eventer, but it's got to be here and it's got to be like this.
Yeah.
And that isn't so far proven to be in AEW or in WWE, despite so much of it being right. Wrestling's cruel that way sometimes.
I think he tries a little bit too hard. I think he's a bit self-conscious as a wrestler.
Yeah.
He's got everything.
He has got everything.
He's got that. He's one of the better explosive hybrid guys.
We disagree on his gear, and that's the literally only thing I can think that one of us would change and one of us wouldn't.
I love his gear. Yeah. He's so explosive. Some of his stuff looks so brutal. He's so rapid. He's so amazing at selling.
Yeah.
Put it together at some point.
And I don't know about usage. I'm thinking of putting a few quid down on this. I'm thinking maybe Cole.
We're going to start doing this gimmick, by the way, on WWE coverage, I've decided.
Cole sneaks it.
So I think that'd be more fair that way. And we'd like to think of ourselves as between us, we've got...
Yeah.
Well, at least it's not the cynical thing. By accident, we're the least biased goddamn pair in wrestling.
The least biased.
That's the Fed. Oh, love the dub. We'll do some kind of jingle at some point about how we're the odd couple.
And we're somehow make it work. With the least bias in the whole top 5, believe me. Like, you're not telling me the dead man is as fair with his AEW as his WWE.
He talk about that. He just talks about he laughs with Midian about people. The terrifying implication that people like ejaculated into the slot bucket.
I hate that story. I hate that story.
And they just kind of laugh like, every conceivable liquid was in that. It's like that's a sexual assault.
We sure showed her for interrupting our game of dominoes that one time.
Yeah. Sexual assault.
Awful.
Allegedly, they didn't specify that there was semen in there.
Who else has mysteriously crept up the charts at great speed? Busted open. They don't have an affiliation with either side. Adam Cole gets the win. Outwits him. Looks like he gets his arse handed to him. He's returned off injury and he's maybe gone in too hot here because Buddy Matthews kicks his ass for a little bit, suffers the consequences, but gets through, wins, proves himself all over again. This is why he was a world champion. This is why he was this and that. And he has to because of this story they're doing with Roddy Strong. You know, he kind of telegraphing that this gauntlet that MJF set up that he has to. But looking forward to it. Very unique little arrangement kind of thing. Like this was,
Adam Cole's going to look like he's in real trouble in this match, and I welcome that.
I tell you who is going to love this match and really resent that it's not on his show is the Game Triple H.
Yeah, I know.
This is his cup of tea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Two of his sort of guys. So yeah, I'm up for this. And the BCC...
As a Fed fan, he's up for this.
The BCC might beat up Buddy Matthews after the fact because the House of Black are the winningest trio.
We'll see.
He's left, like, they're going to take another victim.
No one will be safe. Yeah, no one's safe. We'll see.
No one's safe.
Well, I prefer the Hurt Syndicate, if anything, actually.
Yeah.
Huh? Last thing to preview, or the last thing advertised, we should mention we're recording this super early, so something might get added. Yeah. We've missed it by going in early. We've blown our beans. Last thing.
Beans. Grinds his beans, blows his beans.
Last thing is something, sure, he'll say something good, and the end result of all of this will be good. But I can't say that I'm enjoying this as an episodic program. As we hear from Hangman Page, he's basically going to respond to Jay White's challenge.
Yeah,
which actually no, he's not because it's already official.
Yeah, is he going to do something horrible, like really horrible? Kind of burnt down his house. None of it's earned, as opposed to the Swerve Strickland thing.
Yeah.
However, Hangman Page can. This is not a turd, but he can polish turds. You know, he can elevate medium material. So
I wouldn't mind seeing Hangman Page versus Colton Gunn. Sorry.
Yeah.
Honestly, how good are you, Colton Gunn? Because I think you could be real good.
And Hangman Page, like, what if Hangman Page was to get some real heat on a Colton Gunn or even a Juice Robinson or something like that, just to like.
He's already had the match with Juice.
Yeah. I'm just thinking like the last thing. What I was thinking of is like when Jay White cut that promo on Kalish, we're all kind of like, all right, I want to see the match. I still don't think you've really found your voice as a babyface. Like, force Jay White into being brave enough as a babyface to be sad that his friend got beaten up.
Yeah.
Tweak out that little bit of new emotion out of him than the kid.
Yeah. Because he's a bit factory settings, catchphrase, project.
I can still be a badass. But you can also have a bit of empathy for your mates.
Yeah.
And Hangman is kind of a bad guy now, so will do things to your mates to make you look weak by showing what Hangman currently can't, which is like good human qualities.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, just in general with Jay White, because he's the catchphrase, he's the catalyst, he's the tell don't show. I'm a star, guys.
Breathe with a switchblade, Sitch. Don't forget that.
He's very rarely shown emotion, but when he has, he's proven himself adept at it. Like that breakdown promo, remember that was really strong.
Big moment from that.
Maybe he needs another one, especially if this babyface turn's going to take, and it's not just. It's got the feeling of I don't know what they want to do with Jay White. I don't know if Jay White can really just be that undeniable. Like I don't know if Jay White can have what's the year that Swerve had this year. Could Jay White have that in 2025? At this point, I'm really not sure. Maybe it's not the week for a proper, full-on, emotional, maybe something bad has to happen this week, and then he could have the response the week after. We'll see. But I'm interested. What are your thoughts on Jay White? How good is he? I don't think I've ever been able to determine that answer or arrive at it. He hasn't. Every time I listen to other podcasts, no one else can grasp it. What do you think? I genuinely have no idea and would like your input. You can do so. You can answer that question and just engage with us generally underneath the link to this podcast on X at WhatCulture WWE. You can also just ask us questions, and if we have time, we'll endeavour to answer them. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
You can follow me at Sidgwick. That's our AEW Dynamite preview. All going well, we should be back in tomorrow to actually review the program. If you can't wait until tomorrow for another podcast, we are back in the studio later today to review something that really wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And if there's a match is good on Dynamite tonight as last night's NXT, we'll be laughing and happy and jubilant tomorrow. And that's when we will see you again. See you later.